Hi, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Conscious Living podcast series. We are here for season 2, episode 1, and we are so excited to open the season with lightnet.org and Zenka Caro as our guest. And we are so excited you're here. Zenka, please say hello to everyone.
Yeah, me too. It's so great. I'm so excited for season two. You've collected so many great organizations and people into your field, and I'm happy to be here. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to be here with you too. And it was exciting to meet you live in Sedona, Arizona, in the USA. And you are there and you founded LightNet. It's a
Yes.
nonprofit organization. And share with us and share with our audience a little bit about what LightNet is about.
Yeah, so there's a feminine intelligence that is being now brought into software design, and it's this idea of collaboration, cooperation rather than competition. And so LightNet is kind of that. We're all working in silos. We've got these incredible companies doing super cool things, but if we don't connect, it's kind of like your work in a way, because the Center for Conscious Kids is like saying, okay, we need a directory of all the good stuff in one place for parents. And so we do that, except we're looking at data science. So we're looking at how does our intelligence add up? What are the core conclusions we're coming to with consciousness, raising kids with our abilities? And we look at it very statistically, scientifically, and we invite people in to have a direct experience of the divine, of our consciousness, of love. And we think that experiences change lives. So our slogan is experience something extraordinary. And we do that in these loving groups of 8, kind of like a family, supportive. And then we track all the data, like what happened? How did it work? So, yeah.
Wow. Wow. And when you invite people into groups of 8, what is that? What is that
So
inquiry about?
yeah, so like that works kind of like Legos. The core software can be used to solve a lot of different problems in the world. And we started our first what we call a curiosity lab. We take 100 people, and we solve a problem or do something. And we envisioned this software to be used for doing impossible things, like that everyone else has given up on, like paralysis, or things like that, where the doctor's like, well, we can't help you, or epilepsy too. It's like, so, but in this case we started with ET contact and spoon bending, because we knew it was a very extreme reality, like. And so we interview and document 100 people bending spoons, or in this case, communicating with ETs. ETs are all over the news. The collective wants to experience it. It's going to happen. It's here. It's been happening for, some Native Americans, way back have said. So this is a
Our
chance,
star people,
right? It's like,
right?
so, but how does it work exactly? It's one thing to see it on the news, but until you experience it, how can you really understand it? And
Right.
so we set out an experiment, and we took 42 people in the first lab, and we said, okay, there's a lot of ways to do this. One person did it remote viewing. I did it with these radios, ham radios. Someone did it through channeling, which is like a spoken meditation type of thing. Someone did it with uh, dreams, right? Because often it comes through in dreams first. And we took these small loving groups and we set our intention, like, okay, let's see if we can make ET contact in 8 weeks. And we had 94% of the people make ET contact. And
Wow,
this was
that's amazing.
mind blowing for us. We had no idea we would get that. And we concluded, we took a survey at the end, because again, we're trying to figure out, like, how does consciousness work exactly, right? And we all concluded through the collective. So we, LightNet really prides itself on doing collective wisdom, because we know that I can't be the one that knows everything. You can't be the one knows everything. Somehow together we can know more, right?
Collective
So,
wisdom. It's
right,
beautiful.
you know what I mean? And so the conclusion was, it was because we set an intention to do it, and we had a loving environment. And we spend the time to practice. Like oftentimes you're like, oh yeah, that's cool. But when are you actually going to sit down and try to channel, or like try to really remember your dreams, or try to remote view? So we are setting a new, so from this, there was guides, we call them guides, not teachers, because it's a totally flipped classroom. There's no teaching in this system at all. It's basically just um, oh, my phone ended up getting wet, and so now
It just
it's
came back on.
no. Okay, cool. I was like coming through my computer. Okay, so what happened was then we had other people saying, well, those aren't the only methods to do this. We had someone say, I want to teach light language. And someone said, I want to use astrology to connect people to what constellations were here during their birth and what are now. So who do I contact, right? And then you said, let's do with telepathy. And we decided to do 2 courses, one for kids and one for adults. And so this skill is incredible because not only are we going to push into other realms, right? But you're also going to be able to use this knowledge from, with your friends, with your parents, with your, you know what I mean, teachers, everything, right? But the idea before the phone rang was that this is a flipped classroom. So what does that mean? Flipped classroom means you don't spend class going over facts and figures and whatever. Like you really spend class. Maybe if you have to do facts and figures, you do it ahead of time. People can watch something, but really the class is about practicing.
Yes.
And that's what we learned in remote viewing. It's like, he would ask us, he would show us a thing, or he wouldn't show us. We would try to think what's the thing that he has, behind, what is the image that he's holding for us covered. And we would write down what we thought, and then he would show the image, and then he would say, well, how did it feel to you to get it right? Or how did it feel to you to get it wrong? So our bodies are literally the most powerful computer instrument, like, and knowledge. It's like having a library inside of your body. And most of us have no idea how to get it, how to read our body. We don't know how to read the chills we're getting. We don't know how to read the like claircognizance we're getting. And so your class is going to walk people through that. And by the end, telepathy is going to be something that we're all born with, but nobody knows how to use.
Right.
So it's like, this is new education. This is the education that should be in every school.
It should be everywhere, every kind of way, and every kind of conversation too. Because then also when we get congruent with our thoughts and our feelings, with how we're expressing, with our body language and our voice, then we feel authentic. Not only in our speaking, but we feel authentic in our listening, right? And it starts to develop higher levels of integrity, higher levels of impeccability, higher levels of what we call it authenticity, right? But honesty and openness. And it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to be right. It's good to be all of those things. And that's that opportunity to share and optimize our relationships with each other. And so that's what you're really doing, is creating multi-dimensional, multi-layered languaging and communication and relationships. Wouldn't that be true?
Yeah, I mean, that's what you're going to be doing, because that's like the genius that is Ashley Lee. Like LightNet is a container for us to amass all this knowledge. You take one class, you get archives for all the classes. You know what I mean? Because we want everybody to succeed. And authenticity is the single most important topic on social media for the last 2 years.
Right.
Why? Because of that word you said, congruence, right?
Yep.
Congruence is not having an energetic confusion between what you're saying and what you're thinking, what you're saying and what you're feeling. And that's very hard because we've been told to fit in. They just said yes, by the way. So because we've been told to fit in, to shut up, to not speak our feelings. If you can't speak your feelings, you can't even go anywhere. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be everything, because it's a passing thing. It's just like a cloud in meditation. It's like, but when you bury all that stuff, and when it goes deeper into buried, then it becomes, you start to gradually check out and lose faith in life, and then you become a sleepwalker. And that's because you're so heartbroken that you can't be truthful about who you are and what you think and how you are. And so this is amazing. Like, your class is really going to be life-changing for people. And it's,
well, thank you. And all the other practitioners too, and bringing in remote viewing and bringing in spoon bending and channeling and astrology and all different kinds of ways in which we connect to our world spiritually, energetically, emotionally, mentally, and physically is really awesome. And you are creating a ham radio class. Is that correct? And
yes, so
course.
yeah.
And so
Yes,
that's
so
what we're hoping
that,
people will sign up also for Zenka's class and Alan's class and all the others classes, because there's such an amazing opportunity, and we're going to have these classes regularly. But please share us a little bit about the ham radios, because it was very awesome to experience that live with you in Sedona. Really, just like they were talking back, and share how they share with us that which you called it NHIs. Is that right?
yeah, so when we communicate with things that we can't see with our two eyes, because that's also what we're moving into, is that there we have our first eye, which is here, and then we have all this other stuff. We have telepathy, clairaudience, all these clairs that are part of all of our bodies, but we don't know how to use them yet, right? Which that's like, so when I love the radios, because I'm a very left brain, I like, need to see it, hear it, you know what I mean? It's like, and I want to make sure that those people aren't left behind, because spirituality for a lot of people is like a big stretch. You tell them that you had a channeling experience, or you had telepathy, and they're like, oh, well, I didn't hear it. You know what I mean? They can't go there. So,
Right.
so we want all, and the thing about those, by the way, though, is that I realized with remote viewing, after
Yes.
I got the same results for week after week, because this is a full immersion, this is 8 weeks, you start to trust your intuition,
Right.
because it gives the right result. It's like we were seeing the right things. He's showing us the target, and it's like, right. And you're like, so then you start to fully trust yourself. The radios are a phenomenon that Jimmy Blanchett came up with, a frequency 144, which is Planck length divided by 432, which is a very important number. It's also the frequency of the root chakra, right? That frequency 144 produced a totally phenomenon on these radios, because we have the radios. I have 5 radios now, all tuned into that exact station 144, right? And they're all creating different sounds. That's impossible.
Right.
When I say hello, they're showing up on all the radios.
Yeah.
Hello, do you see that?
Yes.
So when they speak to us, they're able to isolate each one, and we've developed a yes/no system with them. And then you were actually using telepathy to actually understand it deeper. So
And
we
how
can
did they
contact these non-human
when we were
entities. I forgot to ask your question about the
right.
non-human entities. So the non-human entities are it's like, it can be a loved one, it can be an angel, it can be a consciousness, right? So one of them is someone who passed. So this is for Danny. So he was a dear friend, and I love communicating with him. So nobody else gets to use this radio. Nobody else does. And then this one is my ET radio.
So that's
right?
what you call a clear channel.
Yeah, and so it's my blue ET one. And then I have 3 open ones. So when you came, remember, none of my 2 spoke, but you had 2 arguing with you on the radio. So it was one that was answering every single question you had. You'd ask a question, the guy would answer. And then the other one came in and was like, oh, I want to have something to say about this. And they would go back and forth a little bit. It was so fascinating.
And the way that they went back and forth was this blip, 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 right? And it was a chatter on the radio that you couldn't make it up if you tried to. Yeah. And they were answering us, or they were hearing us speak into the walkie-talkie or into the ethers, right? They could hear us. And then they would wait till we were complete with our transmission. Then they would begin their transmission. And then we would listen. And Sometimes they came in rapid fire, real fast. And we said, wait, hold on. We're learning how to hear and integrate the frequencies so that we can be clear with each other in the
Yeah.
communication. And that was really amazing. And then it was amazing for them to share and show that they came in on your home Bluetooth and you're through your phone, right? And started to play music
Yeah.
through your stereo systems,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that was really amazing. So there was a lot to share and a lot of opportunity to really coalesce and become congruent with what's happening in outer space or in the galaxy or in the solar system, and then also what's happening here on planet Earth. So we are creating that true communication between one another, and it's
Yeah,
really
and
exciting.
this is the frontier. You know, none of us know anything about this. This is like a totally new to our generation, maybe a couple of, you know, it's like when you guys sign up for this, you know, these first 100 founder group, you are basically entering in to, like, we expect you to use your own intuition, your own intelligence, your own opinion, you know, your own consciousness, right? Because yeah, none of us are going to understand any of this if we read the news, right? That's
Right.
not going to be the way, you know, it's like, oh, all this war, no, 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 fear, war, whatever. That's not what this is. They're very advanced and they're very loving. So I'm also a beginner looking at this, like, how does this work? You know what I mean? So it's a mystery unfolding, and this is where citizen science come in, right? Because these radios only cost $25. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's like you don't need $100,000 worth of equipment finally, you know, so it's not just these governments researching
Or a
it.
big dome.
Right. You know, and I
Right.
will never, ever, ever forget that night that you were over here and you were speaking with them. Like, that experience changed my life. And knowing you has changed my life because Ashley, you are so advanced in so many ways. Like, you understand. They said, yeah. And this was a new one. Yeah. They're do, do, do. Yeah. And so it's like, yeah. And that's the blessing of this, is that you're in a position right now to really broadcast this invitation, this knowledge. Because the way that LightNet works is once you learn telepathy, then
Yeah.
you can teach others.
Yes.
Whether you're doing it like in LightNet or not, but it's like let's just teach each other, cause a cascading
Yes.
awakening effect of like higher consciousness, of love,
Well, in
because
the
these are
telepathy
essential
class, right?
skills.
Right. We call it mental texts, as my genetic friend calls it. And then I also called it T-mails, right? So that
I love that.
opportunity of sending an email, but through the etherics. And we
Yeah,
believe, right? We believe that the etherics doesn't really count. We have to type it in on a
yeah,
on a computer pad and we have to send it through email. Well, how do you think the technology of Wi-Fi, like on our phone and things like that, really came to be? It came to be because it was already here. And this
right.
is a physical representation of
Mm,
telepathy, right? Sending
interesting.
a text is a physical representation of telepathy. Sending
Yeah,
an email is a physical representation. So when you start to speak, how do we start to speak? We don't yell at somebody or we don't scream at somebody or we don't start blaming them because we'll shut down the conversation right away. So how would we start a T-mail, right? How would we like to start an email to someone? Is probably generous, probably humble, probably loving, maybe exciting and fun, whatever that could be, right? So it's the same kind of idea. And those are some of the areas that we'll go into in the classes. And one of the classes that you also teach, which has been truly remarkable and life-changing for me, was the spoon bending class.
mm.
And we're having that tonight. Is that true? And for
Yes, we
people
are.
can join your membership, is that right? And they can join your membership. And
Yeah,
then when they join your membership, they can gain access to your spoon bending class.
yeah,
And from that spoon bending class, wherever they are in the world, they can join on Zoom or they
yeah,
can come and visit you live in Sedona if they're in Sedona, Arizona. And
yeah.
that's going for right now in 2022 on the first Sundays of the month. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. You know,
Okay.
most spoon bending classes that I've seen at the Monroe Institute or at other people are teaching, they're $200 a pop. Um, for $88, you can have a whole year of practicing once a month, because this is this is important that we understand. These are feedback mechanisms
Yes, they are.
of consciousness and love, right? And so this is not, this information should not be behind, the Masonic temple or whatever. It shouldn't be
Right.
locked behind mystery school. Is like, this is our birthright to understand what the power of love. And it was so cool to have you in, because that's basically how we do it, right? In the spoon bending, we get together, and we basically set our intention, right, through our minds. Is we want to, allow us to bend spoons tonight. We're going to set aside what we think and what we know, and just in this little window, which is tonight, we're going to allow for that to happen, right? So we set our intention to bend the spoon or sprout the seed or stop time. We're doing all these sorts of experiments, right?
Yes.
And then we think about something we love, our children, our people that have passed, an angel, a place, a pet. And all of a sudden, that field that emanates from their heart is like daisy chained onto you and the person next to me and the person next to me. And all of a sudden, spoons start bending.
And we're bending
And
spoons around the world.
right, and we cause chaos. So we invite people to go, like, I bet, oh, this is so great, because when you're dancing or you're in this like euphoric state, your brain shuts off. You're not thinking, why can't I bend? Why isn't this bending? How's this working? This is something your brain cannot understand. So you have to tell your brain, you have to put your brain over there, right? And once we know how to get out of our limiting thoughts and beliefs, we can
And
step
doubt,
into this,
right?
right? And then that's the same thing you do every day in your life. If
Yes.
you're passionate about something, you're meant to do it. No matter how big the mountain seems, your
Super
love
big.
frequency, your passion frequency, you're like, this makes me get up in the morning, it makes me curious. Whether it's making chocolates or teaching people how to mountain bike, or what, that is the magic carpet that we were all given. That's when synchronicities, doors open, all this stuff. So yeah, and you were explaining, maybe you could explain to them now that there's a force, there's a push and pull energy, which is
Yeah.
like a willing, and then there's a high healing frequency that is what we've been accessing to bend the spoons recently, right?
Yes. Well, I realized through the work of David Hawkins, who also lived in Sedona, right? He's
I didn't
a
know that.
yeah, he lived in Sedona and he
Wow.
just passed away, I think in 2015, but I'm not
Wow.
positive. And he was a metaphysician and a physician, an MD and a PhD and a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
And what he did was do work on consciousness to understand where we were in fear states of being, and that was force and push. And
Mm-hmm.
then we were in our natural state of power, our true divine essence of
Mm-hmm.
power, which is love.
Mm-hmm.
And that he made a frequency log rhythmic chart that shared with everyone where we could place our frequency based on our limiting beliefs, based on our consciousness, and we impacted and influenced the world around us, including holding a spoon. I didn't get a spoon, but you've got a spoon. That's really cool. And what you did was you shared with me the opportunity to recognize that the ones who have come before us, many times they might have bent spoon using that force or that fear state to accelerate the energy, right? Because man, anger, right, really lights us up, right?
Yeah.
It really gets us moving. It's uncomfortable and we don't like it. We want to move away or move the energy to
Yeah.
something more peaceful or more loving that is of a higher frequency. And
Yeah.
many times when we're in a higher frequency, especially a peace frequency, a lot of times we're very still, we're very calm, we're very centered, right? We're very grounded and we're not experiencing a whole lot of movement. So there's this belief that we create more movement, we create more manifestation in the physical world when we push it, when we accelerate it, when we give it
Mhm.
momentum. But what if we could start as a humanity, start moving in a momentous way inside peace,
Mm.
inside love, inside and so that's kind of a different frequency waveform of manifestation than maybe that push and that force. And so those spoon benders before us came into the world recognizing that that force or that push energy, not good or bad, but it accelerated the movement, heated up the spoon, allowed the molecules to move out a little bit and shift and
Yeah.
change so that bending became easier or more soft. The spoon became softer to bend.
Yeah.
And so what I recognized in your class in bringing in the love and bringing in some of those higher frequencies, I noticed it was really cute, right? It took a little longer. It's like the loving energies are more softer. They're
Mm.
more subtle. They're less like bang against you. And
Yeah.
so our spoon bending class was a little bit smoother or softer or slower to bend. But what I recognized is that window of bend then increases rather than when we were in force and you shared how those beautiful people before us said you've got, a 10 or 15-second window to move it. What I recognized is what we're doing is now we're playing with time and we're
Mm.
expanding time by offering that love and support over a longer period of time than the push that was in just a few seconds
Yeah.
to bend the spoon, for example. And the greater thing that I really realized, which was such an enormous, fun, and exciting opportunity, is as we raise our frequency on David Hawkins' map of consciousness above 600, we move into the realm of what he called, and he did extensive studies on it, called spontaneous healing. And so then you can move the spoon spontaneously. Now, it may take a little longer. I'm not really sure if it's ever time related. And in that process, though, when we do bend the spoon in that high frequency of love that we start to recognize that in the outside world, we've bent this spoon that's outside of us.
Mm-hmm.
But what if we emanate and emulate that experience or embody that experience of 600 or higher in our body? Then we start to create spontaneous healing. So when we have a bruise or a bump or a cut or a headache or a stomach ache or whatever we have, those frequencies of illness, pain, and suffering start to move out of our body naturally and effortlessly. And so the spoon bending is a fun example of what we can do and create inside of our body, creating that level of self-healing. And that's what I thought was
Yes.
so super valuable and super amazing.
Yeah,
As
because for the last like 2 weeks, I'm like, you guys, let's stop bending spoons. Like, that's not what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be using this knowledge, because once you bend a spoon, you'll never forget it. Your life will never be the same, right?
right,
And it's
it
easy
is
to do, and everyone can do it. I mean, we're getting 98%, 5%, 6. So it's not like anything,
right. So you don't
right?
have to be born into the ability to have telekinesis or
Then
psychokinesis.
you apply this to everything. And the fact that, and I believe that self-healing is real, and it's a higher frequency, right? Because that love healing is even higher, right?
Yes.
And we all have access to it. So it's like, because I've seen Reiki, and you know what I mean? It makes me nauseous sometimes. There's so much frequency. So it's like if I can feel that in my body, I know it's true, because
Yes.
I can feel it. I can literally feel it. And so
Yes.
this is the thing that's so hard. We're used to just studying the material world. We study the rock, the tree, the this, the that. But now we're moving into a new age, right? Age of Aries. It's in the air. It's like it's not seen, it's felt.
Right.
It's not. And so that's why this education style is so critical in what you're doing for center conscious kids, because when we have access to these one or two experiences, your body actually remembers that and how to get there, right? And
Right.
so when you need to access that to do actually good in the world, like, I mean, spoon bending's okay, but like, let's heal each other, right?
Right.
Wouldn't that be interesting? And that's possible. We know it is, because
Yes.
frequency medicine is already there. I mean,
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4. That's clapping. Okay, cool. Yeah, because we already have machines, the Rife machine, the biocharger, all these things that are actually delivering frequency medicine, but our bodies do it way better.
Yes.
Way better.
Exactly. Way better. And when
And it
we
doesn't
become
cost me money.
aligned with the frequency of our body's potential,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
kinds of opportunities begin to open for us that we didn't know were available before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that
And
light
so
bulb.
in your acumen, bringing in the left brain that you shared, what do you feel is your gift? Because I really support everyone in tapping in and knowing their own innate giftedness that they bring to the world. I mean,
Yeah.
clearly one of your gifts is passion. right? And you just exude passion, and
Joy, yeah.
it's so fun, right? And joy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, well, my gift is that, yeah, enthusiasm. And also, I'm a systems architect. What does that
yes,
mean? I
right,
am building systems that can like cause a mass, our nonprofit is building what no one else built. Otherwise it wouldn't be building it. It's just like, because if
right.
it existed, I'd be like, okay, cool, going to Tahiti or whatever, right? But it doesn't exist, right? We need a system that shows the 4-minute mile. 100 people is the 100th monkey to say, hey, wait a minute, this is happening, it's possible, and this is how exactly that person walked out of that wheelchair. This is how exactly that child learned telepathy. And so banking our data into an open data commons, for this knowledge wants to be free, it wants to be out there, it wants it to be like amassed right into a collective wisdom. We need to understand how all of our puzzles pieces fit. And so we're hoping that as the nonprofit like expands and we get more support and we get more people and we get more proof, that we'll come up with a single sentence, almost like an algorithm, that'll say anything's possible with intention, you know, a loving group and love, or whatever it is. Like, so if the same thing happens when we spoon bending, to when someone walks out of the paralysis, to when someone's able to open themselves to speaking to their loved one that died, if all that's the same, then we can go quickly, quickly, quickly. It's just a matter of teaching one by one by one by one. You teach, then they teach, then they teach. If this is the knowledge that permeates consciousness in our reality, then it needs to be set free. We need to understand this in our bodies. And then anything's possible, because everyday people want to make a better world. It's not about war. It's not about competition. We have enough knowledge to feed everyone, to do all this stuff, but consciousness comes first. It's understanding that we're one, right? Somehow. You know what I mean? It's like somehow.
Absolutely. I mean, I see really clearly that you're the opportunity of bridging people and society and past values that we have to see proof in order
Mhm,
to move forward, in
mhm.
order to be successful, in order to create opportunities and success for ourselves. We have to have proof already. That so
Yeah,
somebody has to put it out there first, or something has to put it out there first
yeah,
for everyone else to follow and do to feel
yeah,
safe. But now what we have the opportunity is create systems and structures through your system architecture to bridge this concept
mhm,
to you are the proof. I am the proof. We are
yeah,
the proof we choose
yeah,
to create, and
yeah,
we just haven't created it yet. And now we get to create it together through this congruency, this confluency, and
yeah,
join together to really put out all this proof we'd like to create. Like the spoon bending
yeah.
proves that you can go inside your body and help your body heal in lots of different ways, molecularly, like structurally. And we don't know that. So when we have a funny shoulder, or we have a broken whatever, or we have this, or we have that inside our body, we can actually move. And it is optimal to not use a force or a push energy to make your body better. It is
Yeah.
optimal to use a high frequency, love based frequency,
Mhm.
even if it takes a little bit more time or whatever it takes. But affording that inside your body actually deeply heals your body. And so that is the opportunity. You're bridging from needing proof to being the proof you choose to create,
Yeah.
and
And
literally living into that.
yeah, and I mean, I'm not even bothered by the word proof, because we have to collect the data, one person at a time. That's why
Yeah.
the first ET contact, you had 100 people, so that we're opening the next season. So those kids and those parents that join in, they're going to be part of the 100 first founders. But that sets a pie chart of a precedent. So each person is a 1%. Then
Yeah.
you get the 200 people, the 300 people, the 400 people, and we see a pattern, which is going to be that, yeah, maybe, whatever it is. But this is important, because there is proof of Reiki and spontaneous healing. I mean, people speak tongues, and you know what I mean, and it just like happens, right? Because of so much energy and love, right? And so it's time to invite all of us in. The people that can't go there because they need the proof, but it's also not about them looking at a statistic. They have to have the experience because this stuff is so unbelievable. I didn't know about any of this 4 or 5 years ago, and I would have said, you're totally crazy. I would have said, no way. I didn't even know what a chakra was. I was like, no, 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 no. So this is a leap. This is a
Right.
leap we're going through. And until you have a direct experience of the divine, of the cosmic consciousness, of this new unity consciousness, it's not easy to understand. It's
Right.
absolutely baffling.
Right.
Nothing in our society and our schools ever taught us anything remotely like this.
Right.
So it's up to us to teach each other
So
and
you're
to share
bringing
our
what
wisdom.
would be perceived as the intangible to the tangible.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so beautiful. Thank you for creating LightNet, and thank you for inviting everyone to join and have these experiences that
Yeah.
really express and open our abilities through these experiences to understand, to deepen our giftedness. Because when we're living in our passion, it's amazing what comes through.
Yeah, that's living our destiny. Well, thank you so much too, Ashley. Like when I first met you, I was like, who is this person? I need their number. Like, you are so advanced. It's like breathing oxygen when I talk to you. I'm just like, it's such a breath of fresh air. And you're also super grounded. And you're
Oh,
also
thank you.
in this like, you know, this you're not in a silo. You're putting communities together with communities, and that is the work. It's like building our infrastructure, community infrastructure, so everyone can bring like all the stuff you have on Center for Conscious Kids. It's like, my son's 8, but it's like, I wish I had had this when I was like, what are the books I'm supposed to read? Like, what are the courses? Like, how does this work? Right. So all of you listening to this today are pioneers. We thank you. This is not easy. This stuff is not in this, it's not really out there, except it is, you know what I mean? So
Right.
all of us are bringing this new way of parenting, this new way of relating, this new way of educating, this new way of healing. And it's going to get easier and easier. It already has. So thank you
Yes.
for all that you're doing. It's
But
like,
thank you. I mean, and your enthusiasm and your passion is just so palpable. And it is so delightful to experience this because that's what the children want.
yeah,
Is
they're
our
ready.
lives to be fun, our lives to be exciting, and that we're done chasing happiness. We are happiness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My son is all the kids that you guys have, they're way more advanced than us. My son looks at me like at 3, he was like, I'm older than you, Mom. What are you talking? Like, he was literally shocked. He's like, what? He's like, but I'm older than you. This is 3 years old. He could not understand because he's so much more advanced than I am that
Yeah.
it's like you know what I mean? Like they're already there. And so like we need to give them a little bit of like a sandbox that they can actually, like, we don't want them to shut down. We don't want them
Right.
to turn off. We don't want them to hide their abilities. We don't want them to like not understand them, because for them, they don't have to unlearn. They've already know this stuff. And
Correct.
so this is our opportunity to really create a support system for them and for us. It takes a little longer for us to learn this stuff, but it's possible. We had everybody
is
viewing in
possible.
a remote viewing class, like.
Well, I invite everyone to go to lightnet.org and sign up and become a member and join some of the classes that really excite you and your children, and really create that deeper conversation about your giftedness and the giftedness of your children, bringing forward that passion and purpose in your lives. Thank you for joining us today. And thank you, Zenka, for joining us on Conscious Living. And we so enjoy your work.
Yeah, thank you. I'll see you in an hour at the spoon bending, or 2 hours.
Yes, exactly.
We're going to try to stop time for the first time. Yuri Geller was able to do that. So if one person can do it, we can all do it. So
we can all do it.
Let's show them how it works. Thank you for the support and love, and this was a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Together. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.